At the end of the week, when I look back on all the stories that we did on WPKN, picking up where COVID left off, I guess I should say, is the Ukraine story. And there's no shortage of support coming from elected officials and from people and businesses in town, right?
Right. Yeah. As a matter of fact, the our cover subject, John Wilson down at Burrito Shack, your neighbor, uh,
Yes.
he just started up a grassroots effort. The snow messed him up 2 weekends ago, so he decided to extend it. I can't wait to hear because even with the almost a completely washed out Saturday, he still got like half a storage shed full of hard sleeping bags, blankets, clothes, shoes,
Isn't
stuff
that
like that,
something?
and a nice jug full of cash. And there were some tens and twenties in there. So he did a great job and continued it again over last weekend. So we'll obviously be doing a follow up with additional Ukraine material. I was in the area of the Trinity Church yesterday. I believe it was Trinity that had the Ukraine prayer service, and yes, the interfaith vigil happening at Trinity yesterday afternoon was very well attended. And there are a number of other folks, including the Aquila's Nest Vineyard, who's hosting a couple of events with portions of the proceeds going to Ukraine relief. Basically, it's all profits after overhead and cost are going for these two events, including one that happened yesterday, and then one coming up on Wednesday, a dance and wine night. So you want to take your wife for dance lessons and some wine and make a donation to the Ukraine
Help
relief.
out.
You can do that, or you can just have your wife make you some pancakes or waffles and make your order of your bottle of syrup from Maple Craft Foods here in Newtown, and $1 will go to one of a number of relief efforts happening. Also, what folks didn't see in the online article was obviously a word of warning. You have to be careful about scam charities. So our print edition actually had a sidebar from one of the philanthropic societies with all the necessary consumer protection advice on how to make sure the dollar you give actually ends up somehow, getting to the folks who need it most. So
What is a good rule of thumb? I mean,
go
organizations,
with what you know.
yeah, people,
Yeah. So I mean, and that's at the top of our articles. Uh, Doctors Without Borders, who is also recruiting doctors, nurses, and medical technicians. Connecticut-based Save the Children down in Stamford, Greenwich area. UNICEF, likewise, also, very, very well known internationally. Those are three of the big, the dozen or so that we highlighted. And what was interesting about the Burrito Shack activities is they are delivering all of the hard goods and donated food to the Ukraine Church, St. Mary's down in Bridgeport. So there'll be like direct connections to folks who are in daily communication with either refugee relatives who are now in Poland or moving into the Baltic countries or are still toughing it out in Ukraine.
John Wilson from the Burrito Shack, two things. And that is that honestly, in the 2 years that I've been here, I've seen signs out front. I mean, he's kind of a philanthropic,
Sure.
charitable guy. I mean, this is
Yeah.
not the first. Second of all, diehard Buffalo Bills fan.
Oh, really?
So you got to feel for him there.
Go Mets.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, baseball is back, man. A lot of the radio stations that I do work with, I was getting extra time because there was no baseball.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to give back some of my airtime to the Red Sox.
Tis the season.
It's Earth Day time, right? Talk to us about
Yes,
that.
Earth Day is coming, and Newtown's big annual Earth Day festival is back in person on the grand front lawn at Newtown Middle School, April 23rd from 10 to 4.
Is that Earth Day? Is the 23rd Earth Day?
Oh, that's a good question.
What is the,
Checking.
or is this when they'll be observing it?
22nd is Earth Day, but they're not going to
Okay.
do it on a Friday with
Got
school
it.
in session. But the upside is that it's also the end of Passover on the 23rd, so
All
everybody
right.
can
Party.
go crazy. That's right. So vendors, live music, crafters, food, light beverages, and also opportunities to coordinate around efforts that are happening in town, including yard projects that are being sponsored by the Friends of Newtown Seniors, the FONS group. That's actually happening on the Sunday, April 24th from 9 to 1. They want to put together a bunch of teams, either representing neighborhoods, schools, businesses, social groups, and they are assigning these teams to help seniors who no longer have the ability to do, basic yard work, raking, cleanups, opening up maybe the little gardens. So they are looking to get folks involved in that. Our friend Bev Shadler is coordinating, so folks can go to newtownbee.com or to the print edition to get Bev's phone number or the email address FONS, F-O-N-S, chore services at gmail.com, and can get their team together and do some good. So you go to the Earth Day, or you celebrate Earth Day on Friday. You go and party at the Earth Day event on Saturday, and then you give a little back.
Volunteer, yeah.
By going and volunteering for FONS. And there's also a Lose the Litter Day that's also coming up that has been coordinated around Earth Day weekend, and that's typically sponsored by the Lions Club. So I don't have that information in front of me, but between now and when we hit the Earth, the segment of yours before Earth Day, we'll get them all in. However, I can't leave the subject of the Lions Club without telling you why I love this job so much. Because, as opposed to former editors here, I'm more of a player coach, so I love going out and actually doing the frontline photography and reporting. Yesterday morning, around 11, Sunday morning, I drove in to meet somewhere in the neighborhood of about 50 Lions Club members, supporters, and representatives of Newtown Parks and Rec. They did the groundbreaking for this brand new adaptive playground equipment that's going to be going in at Dickinson Park. And I just got a rendering of the floor plan of that, the equipment about a half hour ago. And it was wonderful to hear. Met the girl who sent the letter to the Newtown Bee on behalf of her disabled brother, who said she loves Newtown playgrounds, but her brother has to sit on the sidelines because he's in a wheelchair and he can't play with her. And out of that letter to the Newtown Bee, the Newtown Lions Club decided they wanted to, try to raise the necessary money to get the equipment to begin building an inclusive playground, and did all the fundraising to make that happen. They've been fundraising since mid-2020, and then in August of last year, the Board of Selectmen helped the effort by moving $90,000 that they had in a discretionary surplus account to help that effort. At the same time, helping Dickinson Park fulfill and conform to ADA guidelines. So it took a qualifying situation and made it better by providing now equipment that fully wheelchair-bound young people can go on and play on and enjoy.
I think
it was great to see.
Treadwell has a playground that's compliant, right? I think they
It's
do.
compliant and accessible, but I couldn't speak to whether it was fully wheelchair accessible. This actually has, I've been looking just a few moments ago at the drawings. It looks like it's got these like
Ramps.
landing strips.
Yeah.
So the wheelchairs can like go inside
Yes. Yeah.
the jungle gym and the kids can, pull up or spin around and stuff.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And so we broke ground on the first day of spring with the Lions and supporters and Parks and Rec. And Carl Samuelson, the director of Parks, vows that children will be wheelchairing into these fixtures by Memorial Day weekend or
Oh, that's great. And what was the price tag? You said it was 90,000 to get it rolling.
$90,000 that the board of selectmen transferred. I think yesterday they were slapping around numbers like 150, $175,000 all told. The other upside is because the Newtown Parks and Recreation Department has both the manpower, the know-how, and the equipment to do it. They are going to be doing all of the site work, prep, form pouring, and foundation work, and assisting in the assembly and installations, and then making the grounds all compatible with all of the other playground equipment that's abutting it at no contract cost to taxpayers. So, or the Lions or anyone else. It's in a public park, so you either have your team do it or you hire somebody. We have the expertise and the equipment to make it happen in Newtown through Parks and Rec. So
all volunteered.
All volunteers plus the Newtown Parks and Rec staff and employees will be running the equipment on company time, not on vendor time. So It's all kind of baked in the cake.
That's really exciting. And we're right at that time of year when, I mean, my daughter was at the park yesterday with my wife and it was packed, by the way, as I think you and I had discussed. Yeah. A little reminder, parents need to behave. Just behave. Let's keep the arguments. It's something when you see parents misbehave. The kids are behaving, John, but the parents don't necessarily always behave.
Sometimes it happens. We see it on the sidelines at the sporting events as well.
Sporting events. Talk to us about, this is big. The Newtown Youth Wrestling. What is the All New England title? That's a big deal, John.
Right. Yeah. Newtown Wrestling is all over the Bee over the past couple weeks with the. It's almost like you see the same people over and over and over again. But the Newtown Youth Wrestling Association last week captured the All New England championship with their members. Numerous members placing top winners in their weight class and categories. And then the team itself went up to Hanover, Massachusetts on March 12th, came away with the first place team trophy, and then 3 individual wins and 6 additional wrestlers placed. And at the same time, Brighton Karvusky won the Most Outstanding Wrestler Award, and Cameron Veneziano was the most dominant wrestler recognized at that tournament. So plenty to celebrate here with Newtown Youth Wrestling.
And as we were just alluding to, you don't get to that level without a lot of people's participation, coaches, parents, mentors. There's a lot that goes into getting these kids to these practices and to these matches and events.
Yeah. And when you think of it's so funny. I'm not a big sports person. I like certain things, but I didn't play much. I don't watch much. But what's interesting to me is always that you have your kind of big showcase marquee sports, basketball, football, baseball, hockey, NASCAR, if you will. But then you get into all these sports that are like centuries old Olympic sports.
Greco-Roman wrestling, yeah.
Yeah, when you go see wrestlers, you're seeing a sport that was, being played at the dawn of time. You know, we were starting to get ready to stand up as as human beings, and we were wrestling. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's amazing. Swimming likewise is another sport with incredibly enthused fans and supporters. But you know, then to sit in the hot, steamy pool rooms and just watch swimmers going back and forth, it's not everybody's cup of tea. But the swim teams, when they bring recognition and wins, like cross country, track and field, it's amazing.
My late grandmother was a competitive swimmer, and the level of dedication was incredible, and getting up early. And
Right.
I meet people even now today, by the way, John, who say, "Oh, your grandmother taught me how to swim." And I think that's pretty cool. The second thing is that you talk about dedication and getting up. Hockey, which is huge
Yeah,
around this
right.
area.
That's
I mean,
the 4 5 a.m. thing.
yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the
Yep.
Newtown Bee captures all this in print, in photos, and you could read about it this week. Yes.
That's right. And we have coverage coming up on the Dickinson Park adaptive playground groundbreaking. And also, another reason I love the job, I just came from Newtown Savings Bank administrative office, where the son of the former president of the bank discovered a number of artifacts and an original painting that was the template for the huge mural of famous Newtown Main Street buildings that you used to see when you went into the Main Street branch to do your banking.
Isn't
And you
that
can
something?
now see replicated in the brand new branch on Churchill Road. So there was an original oil painting that was shown to the bank back in the 60s to say, is this what you would like covering one whole huge wall above your tellers in the bank? And the corporators and executives agreed to it and commissioned what became something a little bit bigger than a billboard. But the original work is probably about 2.5, 3 feet wide and about a foot high. That painting was discovered in the attic of the son's house of the former bank president, along with a bag full of smaller collectible historical items of significance. And I was there to see the conveyance of all of that to the Newtown Savings Bank. And they're going to be putting a showcase up in the new branch on Churchill Road and displaying some of these artifacts, including a cool little kids bank that actually had a meter on it that would register when you put your coins in. So you just have to look at it to tell how much was inside.
That is true. And it was in good condition. Everything was in good condition.
We put a nickel in it and it
And
counted
it
the
worked.
nickel. No, circa 1942.
Wow, that's so neat. All right.
Yep, yep.
Wow, you've
So
been
that was
busy.
cool. Yeah, yeah. And likewise, things have been busy on covering meetings and activities going on. We have some reporting on the how the borough is distributing its American Rescue Plan funds, as well as some business tied to the development at Fairfield Hills. If you'd care to touch on
I
either
do.
of those.
We have just a few minutes left, but the last time we talked, you did mention that there was going to be another hearing, right, on the potential development by Maslowski's, right? Wasn't there
Oh, yes, I
any
apologize.
update on
That
that
meeting did occur. That reporting is going in the paper this week to talk
this week?
about
Okay.
next week.
Okay. So
But
we'll.
what is happening is the desire to do this mixed use development at Fairfield Hills.
Mhm.
Uh, it can only happen if the developers receive enough historic preservation credits to make the formula work effectively.
And who makes
So
that decision?
well, it has to do with getting approved by the Connecticut Historic Commission. So we just found out that the Connecticut State Historic Preservation Office, I should say, um, has informed the town that under its guidelines, it cannot convey those credits to the developer of two of the buildings on the campus that would be mixed use retail and residential, unless the town agreed for, I believe, a period of 8 years, 5 years, in excess of 5 years, the town could not touch any of the other original Fairfield Hills buildings. And
Is that an agreeable arrangement, or?
well, it wasn't, because there's capital improvement plan funding allocated already in the next 3 years to take down one of the other unusable and dilapidated buildings on the campus, about one a year, or at least ramping up. So at this point, the issue is the historic credits, which could be valued as much as $10 million each for the renovation projects that are supposed to total in excess of 50 million. Now the town needs to negotiate with the Historic Preservation Commission to find out if they'll actually strike language into the contract, both agreeing to convey the credits and at the same time agreeing that if one of these buildings becomes an imminent
Unsafe.
hazard,
Yeah.
and collapses or a roof falls in, that, as Dan Rosenthal put it, they wouldn't have to fix the roof,
Right.
instead of knocking down the building. So,
which is going to happen eventually anyway. So
right, it would just mean that essentially no other you essentially couldn't touch any of the other buildings on the campus.
8 years, you
credits
said?
were conveyed for I believe up to 8.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's important information right there.
So, yeah, and certainly a couple of the buildings in the worst shape could absolutely deteriorate beyond a public safety expectation in less than 8 years.
Right.
So
our final item, and that I what I wanted to ask was, I thought that the ARP funding was already gone. There's still more out there.
Well, because the borough of Newtown is a separate municipal entity, both in the eyes of the state and the federal government, the borough of Newtown, with its own government, its board of burgesses and its warden, received some money from the American Rescue Plan. So their allocations of it are being dealt with now. $274,000 in pocket, and another $274,000 coming this summer. The Board of Burgesses and the borough warden need to make some decisions on how to allocate that money so they don't lose it. So one of the ideas was to expand the installation of air conditioning in the Edmontown Hall to some areas that were not part of a much smaller HVAC project that's currently on the drawing board. So now they're looking at putting air conditioning down in the gym. They're putting air conditioning in the administrators' offices and a couple of other projects within Edmontown Hall that apparently qualify for ARP funds. So that decision is in play right now, and we'll have more to report on that in the coming weeks.
As town halls go, I used to work for a guy at WVOX who would refer to things as the class of the fleet. As town halls go, Edmonton Hall is the class of the fleet.
Right. Although it no longer serves a municipal purpose, the first selectman's office, the town clerk, the assessor and tax collector, and a number of other town offices were housed in that building up until just before the Fairfield Hills acquisition and conversion of their dining hall into what is now essentially the town hall or the municipal center.
It's a great building. It's a great asset to the community. I know Bridgeport
Town Hall is a classic. And just think, it even used to have a bowling alley in it.
Yeah,
If
you
you go
told us that. You
downstairs
told
and
us
if you
that.
go down into the gym, there's a little staircase that goes up to a door on the side of the gym. If you go up and you're able to open that door and look in, you'll see a little bowling alley in there that's
Yeah.
now non-functional. Now it's
I'm
just
a,
storage.
I appreciate the architecture and I like even in Bridgeport there's the original the post office in Bridgeport. I just like going in.
Yeah,
It still looks the same as it did 100 years ago. So
right, right. There's a feeling like you're being enveloped by history when you walk
yeah.
in a building like that.
All right, John. Well, you've given us a lot to chew on this week, and
But
we'll check back in next week. And as I always tell you, if anything breaks between now and then, please hit us up.
we'll see you at the fishing hole.
All right, John.